Alan, do you have personal finance tools or something that you like to use, or how do you manage how you figure out what your net worth is and how you look at your own statements and that kind of thing? Or is it just a Google sheet or Excel spreadsheet?
My wife is the biggest geek ever and I love her to death. She loves a good Excel spreadsheet. And we have our own Excel spreadsheet that has the different accounts we have down the left and then the month and the figures. And we update it once a month. This is not something you should be tracking every day. People get obsessed about looking at their stocks and shares going up and down every day. We look at it once a month. We do it on a very simple Excel spreadsheet, but you could use a Google Sheet or whatever you want. And then the expenditure, we use an app in the UK called Money Dashboard to track where our money goes each month. And we split it into categories. Some simple mechanics around looking to see where your money goes and then working out how much you've got. But it's fairly simple and we'll all have our own slightly quirky way of doing it. It's actually our favorite time of the month. We call it the monthly finance meeting, which is actually happening this Friday, where we sit down, update our spreadsheet, have a chat about how we've got on and review. Where did the money go? Did we waste any money? Did we get particularly good value out of the money? And how are we doing with finances? Because if you don't know which direction you're heading, how do you know if you're saving or not?
Ooh, I love that. So you have a monthly meeting with your wife where you sit down and say, okay, let's look at what happened the past month and what happens, where did the money go? And it's kind of like looking back of what happened. Is that fair to say?
That is exactly what it is. And it normally takes place with a delicious breakfast and a coffee, because that is my thing. And finance should be pleasurable.
Okay. So is there a part of the conversation about forecasting at all and saying, hey, this is what's coming up and this is maybe what the outflow might look like?
Yes, I think to start with, yes, because people are in that position of, am I going to spend more than they earn or not? But after you've been doing it for a while, you don't actually need to budget or predict forward or forecast that much. You do in a business because you might have lumpy expenditure, but most people in their personal lives, after you've tracked it for a while, I'm going to spend roughly 2,000, 3,000, whatever it is. That's what I'm going to spend a month. And once you've got your emergency fund in place and your job's working, it's actually fairly smooth. It's more difficult if you're self-employed and an entrepreneur because you have lumpy income. So you might earn a big chunk and then not earn anything for another 3 months. And when that's the case, you do need to start to look forward going, have I got enough to last the months? What am I doing and where it's going? But generally at this stage, and actually for the last 5 or 6 years, we on a backwards looking. And then if we feel like our expenses are growing too much, Tan, we definitely cut them down a little bit the next month.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it sounds like the tool set is actually relatively simple. You can start with an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Sheet and pieces of paper of where your money went. And that's all you need to get started. We don't have to get fancy at all.
We do not have to get fancy at all. And actually, I'm sure you found this when you're talking about productivity. The more complex a system is and the more time it takes to maintain, the less likely we are actually to follow it through and get it done on a consistent basis. The simpler it is, the better it is to follow through. Because if it's just an hour or so a month, or if it's just an hour and a half a month, and it's over a nice breakfast with a nice coffee and it's actually pleasurable, then we're more likely to actually do it. The more complex it gets, the harder it gets.